flux are central to creativity. The modern Indian art scene is undergoing a lot of interesting change. Today we have with us Sujata Bajaj, more widely known as a prominent young modern Indian artist. Sujata, you've also been to Paris recently on a French government scholarship. How did you get the scholarship and who did you work with there? Would you like to discuss it with our viewers?
Yeah, surely. The École de Beaux-Arts, one professor in École de Beaux-Arts, I had received an invitation card from him to come there and work. But just going there and working is not as easy without a lodging and boarding. So then I applied for the French government scholarship. The French embassy in Delhi, with the collaboration with the Indian Cultural Department, they give 3 scholarships in the art section. Not to fine arts, commercial art, architect and all regarding. So I applied for it. There were hundreds of applications. It was big interviews and I was lucky to get it.
Mm-hmm. So how has travel proved to be fruitful in your case?
Yeah, I went to Paris last year. I stayed there for 1.5 years. Mm-hmm. The scholarship is basically for 1 year, but I stayed 1.5 years there. I worked in École de Beaux-Arts, which you know is supposed to be the best art school in the world. And let me tell you, when first time I entered in the art school, it's so beautiful, unbelievable, because it has an atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And everywhere the sculptures, a huge courtyard. It's quite romantic. I think I was very thrilled to enter there. And when I entered in the studios, I heard that Rodin was working here and Picasso was working here. And it's like, you feel like you in a world which is maybe not be real, because it takes you time to digest these things. Mm-hmm. But I think it was wonderful to work there. And
so what did you do there and who did you work with?
I worked with, first to start with, I worked with Professor Vizo, mm-hmm. and he's a sculptor and he does the graphics also and paintings too sometimes. I started with the sculpture. I did a huge sculpture in metal and wood, which I had titled as a Ladder of Traditions, mm-hmm. and it was 2.5 meters. And fortunately, I got a chance to display it in the Salon de Mai, which is one of the most important international shows in Paris. Mm-hmm. And after that, I did some small sort of experimental sculptures. Then I started with the acrylic canvases. And one day my professor, Vizo, it's wonderful, he used to discuss with me for hours. He used to show me the books. And the best part of it that he was trying to tell me or trying me to analyze my own self, that what exactly I want to do, mm-hmm. and what way I want to show my expressions. Mm-hmm. So he said to me that, Sujata, why don't you try this medium, which is a graphic medium, mm-hmm. and it's quite, it may interest you.
Mm-hmm. But so, basically you're a painter, aren't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you that the graphics I have done, I have titled them as a Energy, the whole mm-hmm. series, and they're all monographs. Right. There is no copy to it. Mm-hmm. So when I have taken a copper plate, because copper plate is more sensitive, mm-hmm. and I could get the smallest impressions I wanted, True. The minute ones. Mm-hmm. So I have treated the whole copper plate as a canvas. Mm-hmm. So for me, even they are graphics, but I think they are like a painting.
Right. And the monotype especially brings that out.
So I have worked the whole plate mm-hmm. as a canvas, and then I took the print. And as you know, the machines were very good, mm-hmm. and the paper was very beautiful and very sensitive.
Yeah, in fact, that's what I wanted to ask you about. I mean, graphics as a medium is a very complex one.
Yeah.
Because besides the usual prerequisites in art, it also involves a lot of complicated technique. Now, in Paris, do you think you benefited technically?
Yeah.
And another thing is about the facilities abroad. Did you...
I think definitely, because the machineries are more refined, uh-huh. and the paper is very good. You must have heard the name of this Arche paper, which is the best French paper mm-hmm. for the graphics, mm-hmm. and it takes such a sensitive things, mm-hmm. which might not come mm-hmm. otherwise, mm-hmm. and the huge sizes and the huge sizes of plates, and to work on a big the canvas or a big plate mm-hmm. is more interesting than working on a small, mm-hmm. being a painter.
Right.
So I think it was definitely more interesting to work with those paper, those mediums. Colors are so beautiful now. You must have seen.
But don't you get the same paper here?
You may get, but it is difficult. Uh-huh. And you must be remembering, you have seen some of my blues and reds, know, which that red is really difficult to get, Right. You have to have a superb ink for that.
What about studio facilities on the whole?
Quite good.
Achha.
Yeah.
And technically, did you progress after returning from there?
I think technically I learned a lot, but then basically I think technique can go till one limit. After that, it's more the expression, the way you use the technique and whether you use the medium.
For your monogravures, who was your actual guru?
My guru, to start with, of course, you can say Professor Vizo. Then I worked with the person called Tongi, whose studio I was working. So he showed me how to work, how to do it.
I see.
So it was really interesting to work. And another thing I tell you, that you're so lost working in this medium, because you know there is no copy.
Yeah.
What you're doing is one, and you can use. I used my hands, I used brush, I used roller,
Yeah.
I used sand, then I used papers. Then you must have seen I have used collages also. So anything I wanted, I have used.
Yeah. Images are very central to your work. I think they're a very potent part of your prints. And there is a vast conglomeration of disparate images that you have used. Now, have you used them consciously, or are they the result of pure instinct, or is it the result of a little of
I
both?
think it's both.
Both.
And another thing, that as you see, I've series the whole thing as an energy, and the chord which I have used, I think the life starts like that, and life is the most vital energy existing, and then the colors and the space. So it's a very minute way or integrate way, the way I was trying to show all that. And another thing, that when you go in École de Beaux-Arts or in a place like Paris, the environment and the atmosphere and the discussions, they all are related to art, and the people you see, the works you see. École de Beaux-Arts, there are so many studios, like 6 studios of painting, 7 studios of graphics. So you see different type of work, you meet different people, different sort of discussions, and the different country people. So what they think, how's their approach. So I think all these things.
So undoubtedly
also-
travel has been a great teacher in your case. It
Yeah.
must have proved very fruitful.
Yeah.
Also, how have these images in any way sprung from your experiences abroad? Because despite your wide travel and stay there, your sensibility seems to be essentially Indian. Your images.
I think I'm basically Indian, and it should remain,
Right.
because the expression has to be there. Then you can see the mediums, you can take the techniques, you can see the other ways of expressing, but the expression should be always your own personal, or your own, like what you say. And then you can express in a way differently. I don't think there is any harm in mixing up the different things
not.
together, because it makes the thing more interesting. Like for example, I have taken these collages. I have not taken them collages as what they are. I have taken them as they are memories, So try to take the memories from past to the present. And secondly, some portions I have taken just as a symbol of past. You must have seen some places I have used the the calligraphical things also. This is a part of design little bit, And
So some of these you fleshed out as proper motifs. They recur, like the rope pattern.
Yeah.
I think, and you said that it emanates from the life force.
Yeah, that's what I said.
So
That's the way
it
life
is-
starts. And to
yeah.
me, the small fibers of that rope, has such a vital energy. So I think it's related to the whole space and
I
the
see.
color.
Would you like to elaborate on that point about instinct and a bit of deliberation in your work?
See, when I started, it was in my mind that I want something, a square composition or something like that. But as you know, that once you start working, you're so much engrossed in yourself that your subconscious mind starts working, and the things which are stored there,
Right.
they come spontaneously. And then you I can't think that you decide something and you just want. It's not so like a job that you
That's true.
decide and
No,
you
but
do
the
it.
fact that you have made this interesting shift from sculpture to graphics, the format would have varied enormously.
Yeah.
In sculpture, you have a free reign. There's just open
See,
space.
but I have used it, if you might have realized that I have used this also fully free. There is no bindings to my work.
Alright.
Of course, it is in a square, so you might be finding that when it comes in a square, it has boundaries. But when you see inside, I don't think there is any such boundaries to that. Another thing I would like to tell you, that apart from working, what has helped me most is my traveling in Europe. I went to Spain, I went to Italy, I went to Belgium, Holland. I seen all this Prado and Rack and all these museums, which I just used to read in the books and used to see the reproductions.
We also hear you've been giving a lot of lecture series abroad.
Yeah, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
But first, seeing this old master's works, which I was just seeing the reproductions, and seeing reproductions, and you stand, like I was in Prado in Spain, in Madrid, and when I was seeing the black period of Prado, I tell you, I couldn't believe that canvases can be so strong. They like moved me. And the whole lot of Goya's work is there from beginning to the end, the variety. Like when I went to Amsterdam, I saw the Musée Van Gogh. So I think seeing this, traveling, then being a little anthropologist, I'm very fond of talking to people, knowing them, knowing their psychology also. So I used to talk to them. That has also helped me. Walking, and maybe you won't believe the whole Paris we walked,
I see. Didn't you find the language inhibiting?
In the beginning, yeah, but then I think I was quite not to hesitate. I always used to start, even if I'm wrong, and if people enjoying my mistakes, I wouldn't mind it.
That's nice.
It was quite okay.
And what about the lectures you've been asked to deliver abroad?
Yeah, I went to America. I gave lectures in George Washington University, Princeton
When was
University. This was before I went to Paris. So I went to England. I gave some lectures in England, and I had my
Where
shows.
in England?
England, in Edinburgh, in Glasgow, then in Stirling. Then I showed my work also there. Then I was in Northern Ireland. Then Belfast. I took a small workshop. There's a very, very good whole University of Design. Then in of course, in Paris I gave the lectures. In École de Beaux-Arts also I gave the lectures to all the students. It was fun, because being tribal art being my PhD subject, I have done my doctorate on that subject.
Yes, that was...
So I traveled 4
surprise.
years vastly in tribals, and like every day walking 15 kilometers and reaching to a remote place, which was as interesting as being in Paris. So I think I'll say 2 phases in my life. One, my tribal work, which I learnt a lot. And secondly, this not tribal,
Indian
Paris,
tribal, you mean?
Paris visit, which I learnt a lot, and which gave a new dimensions and new, widened my horizons in my work. And with my lecture I show slides because it makes it more interesting.
Right.
Instead of just saying what it is, it's always better to show.
Visually.
So
It's not often that a fine artist takes up a research project so seriously. I mean, you have a PhD. What has your project been on?
see, I tell you, I wanted to work in tribals. So I thought that just go like that and working in tribals doesn't work. You have to have some strong motivation to do such things. So I said, if I take a project like PhD, it'll make me do the things, like I'll be always going and doing, and like I have some boundary line, like 4 years or 5 years I should complete my work. So I think it was wonderful.
What exactly is your topic of research?
My topic of research was the special features of Indian tribal art and its influence in the contemporary trends of art.
I
And I had
see.
taken 4 tribes. One was from Saura from Orissa, Madia Murias from Bastar, Warlis from Maharashtra, and Bheels from Rajasthan. Maybe I belong to Rajasthan, so I love colors, and
Achha.
so the Bheel I love because they're very colorful people.
Do you think it has been implemented in your own work in any way?
I think not directly, but of course what I worked, which was stored in my subconscious mind, their qualities like simplicity, spontaneity, and the strong expressions and the power of abstraction.
Because in one of your monographs we notice the auspicious symbol of the 2 hands,
Yeah.
which is, I think, essentially Indian, tribal Indian.
Yeah, of course.
So
I think
motifs
when I
like that-
worked so much and it has such a
Right.
strong
it's bound to seep
effect
into
on
you.
me and my life and my work, so it is going to come, and I think it should come better. It should come with the period more maturely.
You also dabble in a lot of other things. I believe you've done a lot of pottery.
I enjoy doing a lot of things, because I think the person like me, I love doing small other things. I do ceramics, I do cold ceramics also, I do murals also, I worked in a metal and fiberglass mediums also. I do sometimes dress designing also, then give lectures to the different institutions. Such small things, they keep me fresh and give energy to me for my work. It's like that.
So basically your training has been in painting, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And where
But I
was
was
that
doing
from?
sculptures also, and before going to Paris also I was doing graphics here. And tell you one thing, that in Paris, to start with, graphic was another reason also. That I said that I have not worked more on a paper, So that also made me fascinated towards this medium. That let's work on a paper, and when I saw the paper, it was such a beautiful paper. And the copper plate, when it was full freedom to me, it was more interesting.
What about your lectures? We'd like to know more on what you've spoken about really. What did you speak about at Princeton?
See, I asked them always that what you want. Like, you want a general thing on a 4 tribes, or you want me to speak about one particular tribe? Because it depends. See, some people want the whole thing in academic way. Then I go into details. When people want just a general knowledge and general idea about the tribal life, tribal
Yeah, it depends
art,
whether
then
you
it's
have a
a
lay
differently
audience.
put up thing, So it's always depends the way the
Yeah.
audience is, the
Right.
place is.
How has there been? How has the response been generally?
Quite nice.
Yes.
I'm quite happy. I think the place like these universities, even if I can find 100 people who are interested, I think I should be really thrilled about it,
You mentioned the use of color.
Yeah.
Now, how would you like to talk about how you use that in your works, in the various mediums, especially painting and graphics, of course?
I think I enjoy colors, and I'm quite a lot colorist also. My lot of expressions go through color also.
But your basic, your present series of monogravures are not, I would not call them emanating from a colorist tendency,
Don't you
they are,
think so,
some
no?
of them are very muted and very earthy.
Yeah, but they are colors. See, color doesn't mean that it should come only red and blue and green.
No,
but
obviously.
I think
Right.
they speak a lot. In my work, I think the color has a lot of
I
importance.
see. I also see a lot of structuring in your work, which is, very difficult to do, I'm sure, in a graphic medium where you're not aware of what's coming next and how it will be projected on the print eventually.
See, it's sometimes what happens that the things are being not working properly. Then you have to calculate things. And then go accordingly, that you when after experimenting for some time, you have the idea, you have the judgment that if you apply the colors and you use such things like that, the effect will be this way. I think it's very difficult to put it in the words, but it's when you work, it's just that you used to
comes
it and
naturally.
it just comes and
But things like you've used precious manuscript
Yeah.
occasionally. Now that I'm sure you'd have it ready with you when you're
course, of
working.
course.
So, but the placement and the
yeah, I told you that
technical-
I have used them as a memories.
Sujata, tell us more about your Indian background, because when you started off, I'm sure there wasn't much commercial lure in this field. Now there are many youngsters who feel that there are no solid openings in the art field. What do you say to that?
I'll answer first half of your question.
Okay.
That I did my schooling in Jaipur, and my mother says that I had this artistic instinct from the beginning, but I wanted to become a doctor. I have a great fascination for the doctors, but then everybody said that, Sujata, see, you will become one of the doctors and line up with the rest. You have got something else. Why don't you try in that? So from Jaipur, I shifted to Pune. I had got my admission in Baroda and JJ School of Arts also. But then being Pune, my brother is staying there, so I shifted to Pune. I did my BA with Fine Arts with honors, and then I did my MA. Then I did
This
my
was in painting, was it?
yeah, it's all in painting. Then I did my PhD, which is also under the Fine Arts. The subject is tribal art, but it goes under Fine Arts,
I see.
And then when I was in a BA final year, my professor, Mr. Kelkar, Mukund Kelkar, he asked me, Sujata, why don't you have a show of your exhibitions? So I literally laughed, I said, he's joking or pulling my legs, because it's not possible to have a one-man show. I had not even passed my BA. So I said, sir, don't pull my leg. He said, no, Sujata, I'm very serious that you have something, and why don't you try? And we just went, we booked the gallery, and then can you imagine, I first booked the gallery, and then we started working.
I see.
I worked and the show went quite okay. So that was the beginning. But till then also I didn't know that I'll take up this whole profession, as today I have taken it so seriously, and that it went on. I
And
keep
since
getting
then you've been exhibiting a lot.
yeah,
haven't you?
and now I nearly 17 or 18 one-man shows I had in India and around around 10 or 12 abroad. So I think that just things came and I took them as a challenge, and that just keep happening, you know.
Where have you exhibited abroad?
I exhibited in America, England, France, Bulgaria.
Tell us a little about your experiences abroad. I mean, how were you received as an Indian painter?
I tell you one thing, that I don't know what happened, but the day I got down at the Paris station, which was en Gare du Nord, and I didn't feel that I'm in a new place. I was quite at home, quite relaxed, and in art school also. Maybe that was quietly depending on my professor and other people, because they received me very, very warmly, and they explained me everything. I didn't know much of French, but I didn't get into a trouble because of a language. And the another thing, I think my work was also liked by these people, and I started working. Another thing I feel is quite important, being sincere, you know, and hard worker. If you have a strong work, I think things can be moved, you know, and you can achieve, you can go ahead.
Which among your works is your favorite?
Not one which I can say is a favorite, but there are few which I find interesting. That one with the hands, which you have seen, my two hands with the orange. One which is with the two chords in a very light green color scheme. You'll see that now. And one musical scores, because I feel that music has a lot of energy, you know, and those rhythms and all that.
Even visually, they're very evocative images.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, and it's quite aesthetical also. So that one work. Then there's a one work which you have seen with the blue, you know, there are 3 blue patches and a one string in between, as if the whole humanity is hanging, you know. So these and few more, but I wouldn't say that fully, you know. I like something in some, but I'm quite satisfied with this, my work. It has given me a sort of...
all right, it's been very nice talking to you, Sujata. Or should I say Dr. Sujata Bajaj?
I think Sujata is enough.
Okay, thanks, Sujata.
Thank you very much.
Even if you are a very gifted artist,
Not at all. I would say that it is a very, very strong profession, and if one sincerely feels that his creative urges wants to be out in this particular field of painting, sculpture or graphic, I would feel one shouldn't stop them, because today the artists have lot of opportunities, lot of things happening in India. Of course, you can't say that even in India things are not happening. Let me tell you one thing, we are nowhere less than any Westerners. I never felt abroad that Indian art scene is less or these people are superior to us. Nowhere. The artists who are something, who have a strong calibers, they are equally strong, and they are producing the superb work, you know.
But also, are they also received with equal aplomb abroad?
No, you can't say that. It depends how much they are
What
getting
about
exposure.
established
You know?
artists?
I think
Are
they are
they
recognized.
recognized?
Of course, I think they are not as much as the Western artists, but they have. And to youngsters, I would especially like to say that first, be sincere, genuine, and try to work hard and make your work stronger. Because if you have a strong work, I think you can move the things, you can achieve what you want. The only thing is needed to go ahead is the work. Then of course you should have a knowledge about the other aspects of art also, about the what's happening in the world, because artist is such a sensitive person. He should be aware of everything happening around him. Surroundings also has a direct effect on the work.
All right, it's been very nice talking to you, Sujata. Or should I say Dr. Sujata Bajaj?
I think Sujata is enough.
Okay, thanks, Sujata.
Thank you very much.